96.9 FM has joined AM 1410 Talk Radio WLAQ to offer better coverage with great local programs presented by local people for local people. Talk Radio WLAQ AM 1410 and now 96.9 FM.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back into this episode of Later This Morning in Rome, and we've got a house full here in the studio today. We've got our buddy Kenneth Studdard of Dogwood Books, and now our mayor, Craig McDaniel, just left the building, and entering the building is the show Killa with an AH at the end of it. How'd you like that when I sent you that text this morning?
That was pretty good.
Is that the proper spelling for the nickname?
I don't know.
Well, we've got the show Killa in the building, and I believe we've got our special guest on the line with us. Looking forward to chatting with him because big events coming up this weekend at the DeSoto Theatre. Mac Arnold and the Plate Full of Blues. Is this Mac?
Hello there.
What's happening, man?
Hey, man, I'm letting the world go around.
I hear you. Are you living the dream?
I'm living the dream, brother.
I love it, man. Well, we're just going to go ahead and jump into our conversation. Obviously, you're coming back to Rome this weekend. And, of course, you got a lot of fans around here because you played here a couple of times, and people have really enjoyed your shows. So how excited are you to be coming back to the DeSoto Theatre?
I'm just ecstatic. I tell you, it's been a while since we were there, and I'm so happy that I'm going back again, and it's going to be a wonderful show. I've got a new rhythm section since we've been there as well, and we're going to be hot this time. I mean, hot.
Hey, I like it, man. That's what the fans want to hear. And for people that are listening to the show that are not familiar, with your background, on your website it talks about how your first band included James Brown on the piano. So tell us a little bit about that. How did that come together when you were getting your career rolling?
Well, back in 1955, we were playing around Greenville, South Carolina, my hometown, and James was a friend of a guy by the name of Jay Floyd. And James, we were living down in Georgia, Augusta, Georgia, and every weekend, James would catch the Greyhound bus and ride the bus to Greenville, South Carolina, and play with us around Greenville, Anderson, over there in Clemson, down in Dalton, Georgia. First one place and another around the area. And James played with us about 2 years. And all of a sudden, James did Please, Please, Please in 1956. And I didn't see James anymore for 40 years.
Wow. So, in keeping with that particular story, being around him and watching his energy and work ethic and things of that nature, how would you say, performing with him for that period of time influenced you?
Well, it really impresses me. I tell you, I've learned a lot over the past 72 years, and it's been a great run.
So I know one of the big parts of your story is the fact that you toured with Muddy Waters. And so when you look back at that experience, what are some of your favorite memories and what you picked up from playing with Muddy?
Oh, man, that was a wonderful guy. He really took on to me, and we had a great connection as musicians. Muddy would treat me like I was one of his sons, and he even would let me ride in the car with them, with the driver and him, and the other musician was riding the band car that took all the instruments. So he was such a wonderful guy, and we had such a connection. I never will forget him.
We've got Mac Arnold from Mac Arnold and the Plate Full of Blues with us here on the program, performing this Sunday, May 19th at 7 o'clock at the DeSoto Theatre. I want to circle back around to some of your history as we go along throughout the conversation, but I also want to touch on, what the show is like. So, for people that have never been to one of your shows, they can kind of know what to expect from your show. You talked about it being hot. Obviously, we got to that right out of the gate. But tell us a little bit about your music and your band and that whole thing.
Well, two of my musicians and I have been together for 20 years, and we've played Europe numerous times. We've played from Belgium all the way down to Italy and all the cities mostly between. It's just been a wonderful run, and it's just exciting. It took me a while to get the rhythm section that I really wanted, and now that I have the rhythm section that I've been trying to put together for the past 18 years, and it's just a wonderful thing right now. It's so easy to put out good music at this point.
So on that note, you mentioning put out music. Of course, you've got a bunch of albums and things that people can get. What's your favorite part about music? Is it the performing live aspect of it, recording, or just the whole thing?
I love the whole thing, but my favorite is playing live.
Mm-hmm.
We still haven't came up with a sound that we can get live and get it on an album. It's hard to get the same sound that you get live laying down on the album. We've gotten close, but you still can't get there. It's something about it.
Hey, Mac, tell us about your gas can.
Well, the gas can started out in the family back in 1945. And in 46, my brother decided he wanted to build one. So he asked my father to buy him a guitar, and my father wasn't going to buy a guitar at all because he was very religious, Southern Baptist. And when he wasn't in the church, he was working somewhere for someone that needed help. He was the kind of guy that went around and helped people all the time in the neighborhood, and he had a great connection with everybody. But my brother built this guitar and took it to school and won first place with the show and tell. So that gave me inspiration to try to learn how to play guitar. So every time my brother leaves home, and I would get his guitar and start fiddling around with his guitar, and I just fell in love with the thing, and it floated around in the family for many years. And about 18 years ago, one of my brothers and I were sitting down talking. He brought up the subject of the gasoline can, and it took me a couple of years or so to find the gasoline can. I built the can, and the can has taken us to Europe numerous times, and I just have fun playing the thing.
That's pretty unique. And of course, tell us a little bit about, how it's put together. Obviously it's an electric guitar instrument, but what kind of pickup do you have popped in that thing and kind of sounds that you get out of it for people that haven't heard it?
I have all the gear from the ES 335 Gibson, and they have humbucker pickup in it, and the rest of the gear from the ES 335. So it sounds pretty much like a Gibson guitar.
Wow, that's really neat.
Well, I tell you, it's fun. It was fun seeing you dancing up and down the aisles of the DeSoto Theatre way back when. You had a wireless connection on that thing. You were able to get up and move around in the audience and play that thing.
That's right.
I got pictures of it.
That's wonderful.
We've got Mac Arnold from Mac Arnold and Plate Full of Blues with us. Concert coming up this weekend. And kind of going back to your history of music, I know one of the things that is also on your website talks about your time with Soul Train and your friendship with Don Cornelius. So
Yes.
that had to be kind of a different sort of experience than being a touring musician and things of that nature. So tell us a little bit about what that experience was like and what was so impactful about that experience culturally.
Well, I formed a group for part-time playing in Chicago. It was called the Soul Invaders. And Don was a fundraiser for WVON radio station in Chicago. And he would have musicians coming in, mostly Motown musicians, and my group would back them up. And we worked together for a couple of years there. And then Don did a pilot and called it Soul Train. And he took some of the things from Chicago, like the L train and all that stuff for an introduction. And he put this thing out there on the road, and it came up so good until he wanted to take it to the West Coast. So I found out about it, and I asked Don one day. I said, Don, you think I would have a position if I moved to Los Angeles? I heard you taking the show to Los Angeles. He said, oh, yeah, I don't see no reason why not, because we've been working together, and everything works out so good so far. So I got my act together, and 1969, I moved to Los Angeles. And I went to school and learned the fundamentals of television through college out there. And 1971, Don brought the show to Los Angeles. And I started doing the show in 1971 as associated producer and worked on the show till 1975.
So as far, I mean, obviously you talked about, growing up in Greenville and on the farm and all those sorts of things. But so what was that a big culture shock for you going from, the East Coast out to the West Coast like that? What was that like at the time for you?
Well, I had been on the West Coast with Muddy Waters Blues Band. And I just fell in love with the West Coast because when we left Chicago to make the trip to the West Coast, it was 5 below zero in Chicago, and when we got to Los Angeles, it was 67 degrees out there, and it felt like a heat wave to me because we had been in a freezer in Chicago for a couple of weeks already, and when we came back to Chicago, it was still below zero. I said, well, I gotta find myself a new place to go, and I think I'm gonna move to Los Angeles. So everyone that I knew in Chicago, I told them, hey, as soon as I can get my act together, I'm gonna move to Los Angeles. And so December, after Christmas, December 1969, I got on the road on a Monday morning after Christmas, and I ended up on a Wednesday in Los Angeles. So I lived in Los Angeles for 20 years.
Hey, Mac, I got a guy sitting across from me right now, our buddy Kenneth Studdard, and the other day he was quoting different scenes from the show Sanford and Son here on the program. And I know that you had a role in that as well. So if you wouldn't mind, share that story with us. I know he'll really get a kick out of that.
Yes. Well, I was working with Quincy Jones. I was a freelancer out there, so I worked with a lot of people in Los Angeles. I was working for Quincy Jones at the particular time, and Quincy wrote the theme. And there was 3 parts of bass playing in Sanford and Son's theme, and I played one of the parts.
What's the name of the song? Do you remember? I read it the other day in one of your interviews, but I can't remember what it was.
I can't remember what the name of the song is. Oh my God!
But it's something other than
This is back in the early '70s.
yeah.
We've
When
got.
we put that together.
Well, we're glad to have you on the show with us. We're going to have to start winding down here in just a couple of minutes, but I do want to circle back around to the show. It's coming up this Sunday, May 19th, 2024 at 7 o'clock, Mac Arnold and the Plate Full of Blues. That is definitely something you want. I think we may have discovered the name of the song. What we got there, Kenneth?
Street Beater.
Street Beater.
All right. It's going to be exciting because, hey, I can feel it in my bones, and I can't wait.
It's going to be fun, and I know part of your history of music was that you got out of the music business for a while. So this is sort of a two-part question, but what motivated you to move away from music, but then what brought you back to it?
Well, I was so busy in video out there in Los Angeles. After I went to college and learned the trade, I leaned towards video, audio and video at that particular time. And when I came back home in 1990, I had the pleasure of meeting Max Hightower. And Max wanted to start up a blues band. And I said, well, let's start up a country music band. He said, oh, no, I want to start up a blues band. So when he said that, I was out on the fuel line because I drove truck, and Max was a mechanic on trucks for UPS truck lease, and Max heard me singing a song from Muddy Waters. He said, "You know that guy?" I said, "Yeah, I used to play bass for him." He said, "Oh man," he acted like he didn't believe me. So 2 or 3 weeks later, he called me up and said, "Hey man, I saw your name in a book with Muddy Waters, and man, you don't need to be driving no truck. You need to be playing blues." So Max and I got together and we started working on finding musicians around the area. And for about 5 years, we looked for musicians. And we finally came up with some musicians. We came here to the house and started rehearsing. Then we got to the place to where we thought we was good enough to get out of the house. And we didn't have a name. So we decided to name, well, I cooked every weekend when we rehearsed. And we decided to name the group Mac Arnold and Plate Full of Blues.
What a great name, too. That is such a cool name. That's awesome.
Hey, Max is still in your band, isn't he?
Max is still in the band. Austin Brazier is still in the band. Yeah. Rick Latham he's really a super drummer. He's been playing drums over 40 years. And I have another young man that's played all over the world, Mark Baumgartner, a bass player. He's really a good bass player as well. So that's my rhythm section for you.
Yeah. Well, I remember Max when he played before. Of course, he played the keyboards for you, but he also played the harmonica.
Yes, the harmonica is his stick.
Yeah,
he's one of the best harmonica players.
And I never will forget, he pulled out a harmonica that was only about 2 inches long. you know what I'm talking about?
That's those little harmonicas we use as merch.
And I remember he actually stepped away from the microphone and played that little bitty harmonica on the front of our stage, and you could have heard a pin drop. It was amazing. I hope he does it again this time.
Yes, we're going to have a great time. We've got a really good show.
Well, Mac, we appreciate your time and look forward to the show coming up this Sunday at the DeSoto Theatre. We got to wrap up because we got a break to get to before we close out. But thank you so much for your time today. We've enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to see you Sunday.
See you Sunday, man. Thank you. That was Mac Arnold, everybody. And, yeah, that's good stuff. I mean, you're so excited. I love your passion for this, man. It's awesome. It really is. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the show killer's with us, is going to give us the information one more time about the show. And again, hope you enjoyed our conversation with Mac Arnold from Mac Arnold and Plate Full of Blues. And I feel like we covered a lot, but he's one of those guys that's just got such a vast history that it's probably in some ways we've barely scratched the surface. There's a lot there. There's no doubt about that. Well, we will take a break. We'll come back with more. This is Later This Morning in Rome.